Nobody likes premature articulation. What's up, band geeks and orc dorks? I'm going to be talking to you today about what it takes to be a good supporting player. Now, when I say supporting player, I'm talking about if you're playing second or third clarinet and not first. And a lot of what I'm saying can be applied to different instrument sections, but to make it easy, and because this channel is clarinet based, I'm going to be referring to clarinets a lot, but it can be applied to all woodwinds, all brass, and most strings. With strings, there's a couple of extra things that need to happen aside from what I'm about to say because you guys have to deal with bowings and I'm not about that life. The most important job of a second clarinet player is to follow and support the principal. If the principal player is sharp, you gotta play sharp. If the principal is playing quietly, you gotta bring your volume down to match. If the principal moves to come in, you guys come in together. When I talk about intonation and if the principal player is playing sharp and you come in and you don't match, in a rehearsal, that's okay because if it's really bad, the conductor will stop and rehearse and make sure that you're all on the same page intonation-wise. If it happens to be a concert and the principal player happens to be really, really sharp, you have to bring your intonation up because if you guys don't match an intonation, you're gonna sound out of tune. When you're playing in an ensemble, the intonation, especially in a concert where you can't stop and retune, the pitch tends to go up altogether as an orchestra, which is okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay. The important thing to do is just match all together. If everyone else is relatively sharp and you're trying to play in tune, you're gonna sound like you're the flat one, even though you're technically in tune. So it's about listening and playing and matching together. Another responsibility that you have when you're a second clarinet player or a supporting player is to listen extra hard and pay attention. A lot of playing second to somebody is being able to match them, like I already said with intonation, but also you need to match articulation. That's going to be super, super important. If all the winds are playing staccato and you're not, you need to be able to match them. The same thing goes for where to take a breath. If the two clarinets are playing a melody and you have the harmony part, make sure that you're breathing when the first clarinet is playing so that the phrase makes sense. You don't want to be playing through a phrase, you want to make sure you end the phrase, breathe together, and then begin the next phrase. This, of course, does not apply to if you guys are holding the same note and it's a really, really long note. You can do something called staggered breathing, which the first clarinet will take a breath, but you still hold the note, and then when they come back in, you can sort of fade out, take a breath, and come back in. So that's called staggered breathing, where you sort of take turns dropping out, getting a breath, and coming in so that the note stays being played, is just being played by two different people, if that makes sense. And like all great musicians, you want to come prepared and you want to practice ahead of time and listen to the piece that you're playing. You want to do this so that you know when soli sections are coming up, so something that is just in the clarinet section. And you want to be sure that you're prepared for any exposed parts that you might have, because sometimes the second clarinet gets a solo and the principal does not get a solo. Sometimes you switch off the solo line as well, so you want to be prepared for that. You don't want the first clarinet to be playing a nice, beautiful solo, and then when it's your time to take it, come in really, really quietly and out of tune. You want to make it sound like there's one clarinet playing the entire line. Another good thing about listening to the piece ahead of time is to be aware of any tempo changes. In case something takes off super fast or in case something slows down really slow, you want to be in time with everybody else, and I'm going to talk about how to do that in a second. But you want to be prepared for those tempo changes so that you stay together. Also, bring a pencil and write in any cues or missed notes or tempo changes if you miss them. So now I'm going to talk about peripheral awareness. It's important to be present and be engaged. And what I mean by this is when you're playing together, you want to be listening not only to the person next to you, but you want to be listening across the entire orchestra. And that goes for the principal player as well, because the principal player not only has to be in tune with you and the woodwinds around you, but also as an entire orchestra. And if everybody in the orchestra is listening to everybody else, you'll sound more together like one instrument. A lot of people tend to think that the second clarinet or third clarinet parts are not as important, but they're actually incredibly important because you have the harmonies, you have the support. It's great when someone has the melody and a solo and they take off with this beautiful melody, but it would be nothing without the harmonies underneath. You also want to be watching the conductor and the principal player. So you can watch the principal player and be aware of them with your peripheral vision, but you want to also connect with the person who's in front of you dictating how the piece is supposed to be interpreted and all the tempos. You want to be connecting with the conductor, but you also want to be connected to the person next to you. So be watching them both at the same time. If you're aware of the first clarinet player, you can see them moving, and they should be leading you to come in when it's appropriate. You don't want to come in before the principal, and you don't want to come in after the principal. You want to be together. And if you come in before the principal, you don't get a prize for finishing first. Plus, nobody likes premature articulation. Something that's really important that also goes for everybody else in the orchestra, when the conductor cuts off to work on something, stop playing immediately. It's not important to finish the phrase that you're playing. It's not important to play a little riff or something at the end. You just want to stop playing so that the conductor can say what they're going to say so that you can make the piece better. And your rehearsal time will be so much more valuable if you just stop playing when the conductor cuts you off. That's one of the things that annoys me the most when I'm playing in ensembles. And one more thing you can do is when you're counting rests. So sometimes when you're in a section, you have a lot of rests and you have to count them together. And one way that you can count them together is literally just to, like, in rehearsal, just be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. If you're keeping a visual of how many bars have gone by, that's actually really helpful to the people next to you, even if it's just like on your leg, keeping count. Because there have been times when I'm playing principal and I get lost and I look over at the second clarinet player and they're keeping count. It's just a good way to make sure that you're all on the same page in the section non-verbally, so you can do it visually. And if you're counting along and you come to a bar where there's like a rehearsal number, you can go like, okay, now we're at A, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. Yeah, I just wanted to come on here and make a video about how to be a good supporting player. I'm going to be making a video on how to be a good principal player because there's a little more responsibility in terms of leading, and I'll get to that in another video. But I wanted to start with being a supporting player because a lot of times when you're playing second to somebody, it doesn't feel as important. But I just want to highlight the fact that it's incredibly important. You have so much responsibility as a supporting player, and your job is even more important than the principal sometimes. But in the end, it's all about playing together and feeling the music together and being the best ensemble you can be. If you have any tips on how to be a supporting player that I haven't mentioned, leave a comment, and I will get back to you, hopefully in a bit, with what it takes to be a principal player. I'm also going to be talking about how to get a conductor to notice you and make a good impression on the conductor, and I'm also going to be talking about what to do when your ensemble music is too easy, and I will get to that all in videos that are coming out hopefully soon. I'm a freelance clarinet player, and I'll give you an example of my schedule. Basically, a week ago I had 1 gig, and now I have 4. So, sometimes things come up when you're not expecting them, and I'm super excited to be playing all the music that I get to play, and I'll probably be talking about some of it in future videos, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that the videos are coming, but they might not be as regular. Not that my videos are ever on a regular schedule anyway. So, yeah, if you like this video, subscribe and like it. And until my next video, go practice.